Tonight, before you touch another object, look at your fingertips. Tiny ridges cover every finger. You have probably ignored them your entire life. Yet they tell a story older than civilization, older than writing, older than farming. Long before the first city appeared, these patterns already existed. They survived ice ages. They survived extinctions. They survived the rise and fall of empires. Every human carries them. No two people share the exact same set. Not even identical twins. How can billions of people all have fingerprints, yet every single one is different? The answer begins before your first breath. In fact, it begins before your first memory. Around the 10th week of pregnancy, your fingertips begin to change. Small folds appear beneath the skin. The growing hand presses against the walls of the womb. Blood flow changes from one moment to the next. Tiny movements reshape the surface. Even the amount of amniotic fluid plays a role. The result is a pattern that will never appear again in exactly the same way. By the 17th week, your fingerprints are complete. From that moment forward, they remain remarkably stable. Your body grows. Your hands become larger. But the pattern stretches instead of changing. The same ridges you carry today were already waiting for you before you were born. Why would evolution preserve something so carefully? For centuries, nobody knew. People noticed fingerprints. They simply did not understand them. Ancient potters unknowingly left fingerprints in wet clay. Ancient builders pressed them into bricks. Some merchants even placed thumbprints on documents long before signatures became common. They had discovered something unique without realizing why it mattered. Thousands of years passed. Empires rose. Empires disappeared. Still, the mystery remained. Then science finally caught up. In 1823, Czech scientist Jan Evangelista Perkine carefully studied fingerprint patterns. He noticed they followed recognizable forms. Loops, whorls, arches. The patterns looked random, but they followed hidden rules. This discovery changed everything. For the first time, fingerprints could be classified instead of simply observed. But another question remained. Why did humans have them at all? Were they simply decoration? Or did they serve a purpose? Scientists searched for decades. Then the answer began appearing in the smallest details. The ridges increase friction. They help your fingers grip smooth objects. They improve control during delicate movements. Without them, holding a wet glass becomes more difficult. Picking up tiny objects becomes less precise. Your fingerprints quietly improve almost every movement your hands make. But gripping objects is only part of the story. Your fingertips also contain thousands of nerve endings. These receptors constantly measure pressure, texture, and vibration. The ridges help amplify tiny vibrations as your fingers slide across surfaces. In other words, fingerprints do not simply help you hold the world. They help you feel it. Every page you turn, every keyboard you type on, every hand you shake, every piece of fabric you touch. Your fingerprints silently increase the information flowing into your brain. Modern experiments have shown that textured ridges improve the detection of fine surface details. Your hands became extraordinary sensing machines, not by accident, but through millions of years of evolution. Yet evolution accidentally created something even more remarkable. Every fingerprint became a permanent identity card. Long before computers. Long before passports. Long before DNA testing. Nature had already invented a nearly perfect way to tell people apart. That discovery would eventually transform criminal investigations forever. That idea changed policing forever. In 1892, British scientist Sir Francis Galton published the first major scientific study showing that fingerprints remain unique throughout life. He demonstrated that fingerprint patterns do not naturally change as a person grows older. For the first time, identity could be verified with remarkable confidence. Just a few years later, fingerprint records began replacing older identification systems. Photographs could change. Names could be forged. Faces could age. But fingerprints stayed the same. Police departments around the world soon built enormous fingerprint archives. Millions of paper record cards filled entire rooms. Investigators compared every ridge by hand using magnifying glasses and careful observation. The process was slow. Sometimes it took days. Sometimes even weeks. Yet it solved crimes that had once seemed impossible to crack. A single fingerprint left on a glass, a letter, or a door handle could identify one person among millions. For the first time in history, the smallest marks on the human body became one of the strongest forms of evidence. Something almost invisible had become impossible to ignore. Then computers changed everything. Digital scanners replaced ink and paper. Powerful algorithms could compare thousands of fingerprint patterns in just a few seconds. Today, unlocking a phone takes less than a heartbeat. The same ridges that once helped your ancestors grip stone tools now protect bank accounts, passports, medical records, and personal memories. Isn't that an extraordinary journey? A feature shaped by prehistoric survival now secures the digital world. Yet fingerprints still refuse to reveal every secret. Scientists continue to study exactly how every ridge forms before birth. Genes provide the basic blueprint, but tiny differences inside the womb influence the final pattern. The position of the developing hand, small changes in blood flow, the pressure against the womb, even microscopic movements during development. That is why identical twins share the same DNA but never exactly the same fingerprints. Nature writes the rules. Chance completes the design. Perhaps that is the most surprising lesson of all. Every time you touch a table, a cup, or another person's hand, you leave behind a mark that no one else on earth could create. You carry a signature that existed before your name. It needs no batteries. It never updates. It never expires. For your entire life, it quietly proves that you are unique. The next time you look at your fingertips, you won't just see lines. You will see millions of years of evolution pressed into your skin. A map of survival. A record of biology. A masterpiece formed before you were born. Your fingerprints are not simply marks you leave on the world. They are living fossils, quietly reminding us that even the smallest details can carry the longest stories.